Come, let us gather in this space of hope and community. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion, and compassion. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come into this space and let us worship. And now, as you're able, embody your spirit. Please rise as we begin our hymn for the morning. Morning has come.
So welcome to this is probably high. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I'm very pleased to welcome you today. We have a lot of announcements. Stick with me. During middle hour, we have the social justice sub-team on voting, and we have the Parenting in Tumultuous Times, the support group for Parenting in Tumultuous Times. The parenting is in room 5, and the voting is in room 7. Also, next Sunday, our own Coquette Sanders is going to be offering the sermon as part of the Preacher Pack. I'm excited to let you know about that. On the 6th is our congregational meeting, and it's also going to be a new member recognition. We're going to do a bunch of stuff on that day. But the 6th is, for now, is the congregational meeting. And also, there's a table out there. David, it says vote, correct? The table out there? Yeah. If you see a table out there that says vote, there are postcards that have information on the online people. David is holding up a postcard. And it has information on all 4 of the amendments, or just 2 and 3? But is it all 4? David, all 4 or just 2 or 3? All 4. All 4 amendments. They're designed for distribution. And I think we've covered the things. Kathy, would you like to do a lesson that we'd already prepared?
If you're sure we don't have any more announcements. We could do more announcements, yes? No. So, good morning, all. For the lesson this morning, Some of you may be aware that we are in the middle of a visioning process, and we're doing cottage meetings, which are meetings with the visioning team to daydream a little bit about what the future of this church might be. And so when Nathan and I were talking, we were talking about how it might be useful to look at things from a different perspective. And so we're going to do sort of a game as our lesson this morning. I spent some time this week taking pictures of the church from different perspectives, and I want to see if you can tell me where I took the pictures. So, Robin, imagination, engage. This is the ceiling in the sanctuary. Yes. It is. It's the stones in the chalice. Next. It is. It's the new Progress Pride flag made by some of our members. Okay? The inside of the piano. It's right up here. Please feel free to come look after the service. Under the chairs. Yep, it's a pillow. And where do you find the pillows? Outside on the table, absolutely. The name tags. And where do we find the name tags? Outside on the table. Okay.
One of the journals outside on that table.
Wow, yes. It is one of the journals from outside on the table. Just in case you haven't figured it out, if you need some place to doodle, we have places that you can doodle, and you can find them outside in the narthex. What is this? A bench, and it's found outside. That's one of our memorial benches, okay? The most important part, right? These are snacks. Where are they hiding, or where are they spread out? We can find snacks all over the building, can't we? This particular picture is in the reception area after church or after the service, where you get coffee and other kinds of snacks. Next. The peace stones. The peace stones are outside. This one might be hard. Where's this? Fire pit. Okay, y'all are faster than I thought you'd be. Fire pit. And the fire pit is outside, and we have a gathering there just about once a month. And where is this? Outside in the breezeway. Y'all are great. And where is this? Yes, the bathrooms, the important part of the building. And this? It's a rug. It's in one of the classrooms. Anybody know which one? Not the 3 to 5-year-old classroom. Come down just another level. In the nursery, right. That's the rug in the nursery. And this is?
The playground.
That's right. This is the playground. It is. It's in the classroom in the hall at the very back. Those are words that our 4th and 5th graders years ago thought stood for Unitarian Universalism. And so that's up in one of the classrooms. Okay, next.
Rainbow.
It is a rainbow. Anybody know where it is? The guess would be in the classroom. Not quite. It's in the hall between the classrooms on one of our bulletin boards. Yeah. And this is? That's right. It's the fellowship hall. It's the flowers in the fellowship hall where we can sit and eat or sit and talk between services and after service. And was that the last? That was the last one. That went way faster than I thought it would. And so y'all did a really good job looking from other perspectives. Thank you so much for playing along with me.
And with that, I'd invite you into this morning's prayer and reflection, if you would join me. The God that we know when we see love and hope and kindness, that spirit that has been named and unnamed for generations, be with us on this day. And hold all of those who are thinking of those who came before, religious ancestors, family members. Help them to be present in our understanding of where we are now. Help them to live in your hearts. And help us to hold a world that is aching, that is pulling itself apart. In particular, this week, we are holding the memory both of Jesse Hoffman Jr. and the family who was affected by the murder he committed. We are holding him because this week, for the first time in 15 years, our state killed him. We are holding all of those who long for a more just world, a world of forgiveness and hope and kindness. May these ragged edges that are still fraying find some way to be pulled back together. May you know peace. May you know love. Amen. So today we have cards for quite a few people. We have cards, a Thinking of You card for both Eileen Hendricks and Janet Sullivan. Eileen is recovering from a hospitalization, and Janet has specifically asked for prayers from you as the congregation. Also, if you would place a stone, we first have the death of a grandmother of a church member. Sarah Serber-Bound's grandmother, Doreen Perpera, died recently. And also there is the birth of a grandchild. This is to Don Hoppy and J.T. Bacon, Leland Ulrich Hoppy. So we are thinking of them. We are thinking of so much more. Online folks, if you would type right into the chat whatever your stone is. In-person people, if you would come forward either along the west or the east wall, take a stone and place it in the chalice bowl. We invite those who wish now to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is the symbol of the power of love.
From all that dwell below the sky,
Let us take a moment to honor the ancestors of this church, the people who first came together to create a home for liberal religion here in this community, who worked to raise money for a building, who sat in committee meetings and created bylaws, who chopped and marinated and baked for potlucks, who painted and weeded and pounded nails and washed countless dishes, who gathered to worship, to learn, to grieve, to heal, to serve, to build justice, to transform their lives and this world. We are the recipients of an incredible gift and a beautiful vision. Let us do our part to keep this congregation strong, vital, and thriving for generations to come. And now, as you're willing and able, please rise and body your spirit. Sing our next hymn, Sing a New Church.
Still in unity, let us bring our gifts that differ and in splendor varied ways, sing a new church into being, one of faith and hope and praise. Trust the goodness of creation, trust the Spirit strong within, dare to dream the vision promised, spring from seed of what has been. Let us bring the gifts that differ and in splendid varied ways, bring a new church into being, one of faith and hope and praise. Bring the hopes of every nation, bring the art of every race. Weave a song of peace and justice, let us sound through time and space. Let us bring the gifts that differ and in splendid varied ways, sing a new church into being, one of faith and hope and praise.
Most people don't seem to see this, but I think there's something magic in places. If you lived in a house for a long time, there's some magic embedded in that house. Regardless of whether you can justify it scientifically, I am absolutely convinced that events that happened in your life that are geographically specific, maybe it's a birth, maybe a mistake, maybe an accident, maybe a death, but if you return to that space, I think there is some part of your essence there. More specifically, for me, whenever I drive past Baton Rouge General at Bluebonnet, where both of my children were born, I notice that connection with the mystery. When I walk around in old New Orleans, I feel a connection with those people in my family who walked around on those same blocks. Maybe they were doing important things, but maybe they were just grocery shopping or worrying about bills or joking with each other. And I love serving a church because that magical connection is all the more present here. The chair you are sitting in right now is a re-cushioned chair that was brought here a few decades ago. The new chair color and cushion was picked by a few members, some of whom are not with us anymore. This specific type of chair was chosen by church members whom I don't know, who likely aren't with us anymore, who I would imagine spent a good amount of time sitting on various models of chairs until they picked the one that they thought would be comfortable for you, to contemplate the world, to contemplate the divine, to grieve, to celebrate. But these chairs they thought of for you to sit on. All of the technology we have in the sanctuary happened as a part of the 2011 Great Expectations Capital Drive. It was finally installed in 2018, with us having no idea the pandemic was going to hit. In fact, we sludged along with a lot of that new technology, not taking full advantage of it, until that fateful day 5 years ago when the world shut down. Although they were just mere visions of the 2011 Capitol Drive, the efforts that were made some 9 years before the shutdown made it so that we didn't have to adapt as dramatically as many churches did. When the Supreme Court acknowledged that something this church knew for decades, which is in 2015, when they decided to finally recognize marriages of people of similar genders, we converted the choir room into a chapel. See, we had this thing where a bunch of people came to the church to get married, but they had already been together for 40 or 50 years, and they were just looking to have something acknowledged that they had already been living for decades. And they were bringing 4 or 5 people. And to do a ceremony in this space with 4 or 5 people was kind of too big. And that space was just kind of the right small amount. But when the Capitol Drive, before Great Expectations, in 1999, enabled building that choir room, I doubt anyone on that team had thoughts of serving those who finally got recognized as justice came. In 1988, when this gathered congregation outgrew the old assembly room, which is what is now the fellowship hall, which is what they called their sanctuary. They called it the assembly room. But when they decided to build this sanctuary, they built it so large, and this is according to some of the people who were there at the time, that it dwarfed and almost swallowed the congregation when they worshiped in this space. When this congregation built that building back in the 1960s, they did not know that many of you would be sitting here today. They did not know the names of the people who would be memorialized in this space. They did not know the hymns that you would choose to want to sing more than the ones that they like to sing. They did not know the ministers and the staff who would be serving you. They did not know that you would start providing vegan and gluten-free snacks. I don't even think they had words for those back then. Maybe it's just because I'm clergy, but whenever I go past the old state capitol, or what is now the Hilton, which is the old Heidelberg Hotel downtown, or when I drive past the intersection of Jefferson and Government Street, all of those are locations where the congregation used to meet in previous buildings. There's a little piece of me that feels connected to those spaces. Like I feel some of our religious ancestors worshiping there. I know when I go past there that they built a religious community here in this city so that way back then, there would be a place for religious liberals to worship. And this is key, they wanted it to be an integrated space. Because back in the 1950s and 60s, segregated was the default. Next year is the 75th anniversary of the church, and we're going to have a big celebratory year that year. And a part of that celebration is casting a new vision for where we want to be as a religious people. And we've entered that time of doing it. So today, the entire theme, so if you remember last week, I said, this week we're going to do the visioning, but last week we have to get all of the stuff out of the way. So last week was then and now, and this week is the service to help us start to cast the vision. So some of the logistics of today. The strategic planning team has been meeting with some of the groups of you. They've already met with the worship guild, 2 different settings of parents. They've met with the board, the congregational care team. There's like lists of different groups. They are about to announce general sessions that are open to everyone to sign up for, because the goal is to hear from every single one of you and to hear from you in the specific groups you're already engaged in, and if you are not engaged in a group, to still hear from you. Does this make sense so far? All right. So keep an eye out. If you don't, also online folks, we're going to have one just for you also. So know that that's coming. And if you have not taken part in one of these conversations yet, please consider doing so. If you need help connecting with one of them, get in touch with me and I will help find the best space for you. Also, if you are a visitor who feels a connection to this church, you are welcome to be a part of this too. This is a church that is for everyone who is here now and who could be here in the future. So I don't want you as visitors to feel pressure to be a part of it, but you are not excluded. I hope that makes sense to y'all. So we've been working with a consultant to plan out this strategic plan. And his main advice is that most strategic plans fail because people are not ambitious enough. So I would like for you to consider how ambitious you can be in preparing for this strategic plan. Also, I have been coaching the team not to take down notes on specific ideas, which is very counterintuitive, but rather to listen to and to feel the patterns of the ideas. So I had a professor in seminary who forbid us from taking notes. And he said, if you're supposed to remember something in this class, you will remember it whether you wrote it down or not. That's the concept that I'm inviting, because I've been in on some of these cottage meetings so far, and they are having a whole varied bunch of amazing ideas. And I don't want the strategic planning team to get focused in on any one specific idea, but to listen to the generalized way you all are talking. Every time you think about this church, what this church could be, every time you talk to another church member about where you think this church could be, every time you collaborate with and get excited and build, those conversations will work their way to this strategic planning process, whether they're in an official cottage meeting or not. We are not simply trying to figure out whether or not we should change the cushions on the chairs. That's not on the table, by the way. We changed these like 5 years ago, and they last for like 30 years. We are trying to get the collective congregation to think about what this church could or should be on its 85th anniversary, which will be in 11 years. Also, a little side note, none of us know why they're called cottage meetings, except that other people called them cottage meetings. I know we don't have cottages here, so, we could call them fishing camp meetings if you want, or whatever. But I want to do a cultural acknowledgement that, cabin meet, I don't know what we would call them. Anyway. Switching into the offering, I did want to have one more announcement. In May, we are doing a plant sale, which is becoming an annual thing, which is not really a sale. It's more of everyone who's been growing something that they want to give away as a fundraiser. You bring that the first weekend in May, and then you buy it with however much you think it should cost. So if someone has a giant lemon tree in a pot that you want to bring to sell, do it. But if you want to start sprouting stuff to bring to sell, do it. But in preparation for that, we are this year selling flower pots. They're terracotta pots. They're small and large. I believe they're $5 and $10, but yes, good, look at me. It's a donation. Pay what you think you would for these pots. But we're asking you to take them, decorate them like crazy, like the most absurd decorations you could ever imagine putting in a pot. Then bring them back to the church, and we will sell them and auction them off. And we did it last year with birdhouses, and it was phenomenal. It was really, really cool. But we can't do birdhouses every year, so this year it's pots. Good? Now, this whole month we are sharing our offering with Preach, which is an organization in Baton Rouge that is doing advocacy work and working with people who are poor and helping with renovations and helping with just just a lot of stuff. Like, I really wish I could just give you the precise, like when we do Planned Parenthood, it's easy. It's like reproductive justice and healthcare. But this organization is doing so much, it's almost transcends the ability to describe. I would encourage you to look at it. And next week is our last week to give. And I'm going to stir the pot. The 11:30 people said you all don't like to support them. I'm just saying. Now, they may have not actually said that, but I'm telling you they said that as a way to motivate you through lying to give more generously. So I'll ask you to give very generously as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received. Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Justified, Better Call Saul, True Detectives, Last of Us, Walking Dead, Squid Games. These are some of the most watched shows of the last 10 years. I share this with you to say that there is a trend of depicting dystopia in our world right now. I could have done like books or, there's a lot of dystopic media out there. And a lot of these shows also were popular before the pandemic hit, just to mark sort of where we've been as a culture. So it's not just an anomaly that of the media we consume. The reason why it may be hard to look towards the future includes our current state of politics, the increased threats of climate change, and it's not just sort of abstract textbook versions of the increased threat of climate change. It's the real and genuine fear that maybe we can't even make plans to buy houses in some cities because of what the future could look like. There are questions of whether diseases we thought were eradicated are coming back, whether our children will have access to the same lives that we had. We are living in a time that is hard to cast a vision for the future. So what we are doing today and this month and this year is in some ways countercultural and defiant, which makes it all the more important because the winds of this political climate are telling us not to plan, not to find hope, to just put up with the sadness and the degradation that is being pushed. And I'm not just talking about the president or the governor or the legislature or the mayor. I am talking about this larger cynical climate that says it is not helpful to care. There was an article yesterday on NPR about how some religions are decrying empathy as a tool of the devil. It's a misogynistic take on it. It's not in the sermon. I just decided to say that, and I needed more space for it. So there you go. But that is the climate we are in right now. So let me tell you a little of what we are not doing. We tried to do a strategic planning process in 2017 and 18. So you're supposed to do one every 5 to 7 years. So we did one in 2011, 2012. We were supposed to do one around 17 or 18. But our then senior minister, Steve Crump, announced he was retiring, which is a bad time to do a strategic plan. So then, after we reopened in 2021, we started trying to do a strategic planning process. Because then it was already 10 years after the last one. In fact, we had a team of people who met almost every week to plan this thing out. And they talked to you and they listened to what you wanted. And if you remember that in late 2021, when we reopened, It was just for a few months. People were still masked. People were still grieving. Not that we're not, but it was fresh and new. The jars that we had out on the Peace Stones, where we put a stone for every American who died from COVID, those were still out there. When our consultant came in 2022 to help us get a jump start on the stewardship drive, he gave us the exact same feedback that strategic planning gave. That everyone is too new, too injured, too fresh, too tender to be able to envision a future. The only thing anyone was able to tell us at the search for Reverend Chris, that strategic planning, and at the consultant's, he called it a next steps weekend. The only thing that people were able to say collectively was that they wished it was 2019 again. And I was actually fully prepared for that to be the outcome of this process. I thought maybe that the changes were still too fresh, too new, that it would be hard for us to cast a vision, especially with us being in the depths of a ministerial transition right now. Let me pause there and say, Leslie is on the ministerial search team. And we have been interviewing people, and that process is moving along. But if you have questions, she can't say much, but she's right there. Online people, our worship associate is on the search team, and I keep pointing at her. But that is not how these initial conversations have gone. For the most part, you have been casting your visions for what the future of this church could look like. And these visions are exciting and bold and clear that we are in a visioning and empowering phase of the life of this church. So let me tell you what we are not doing. It is pretty clear that some people come to these cottage meetings, they've already got the list of the things they want, me included. I can tell that because the list sometimes feels out of sync with the visioning that we are doing. An example could be, this is not true, because I'm sort of lying to protect the process. So it's an example. But so when Steve was here, we never wore stoles. There's sort of three ways ministers can costume for worship. One is just sort of regular professional dress. And all the way on the other end is wearing robes with stoles. And then the middle ground is kind of the professional dress with the stole. So forever, Steve wore just professional dress, except for we robed on like memorial services and weddings and sort of big church events. I could see a group of people deciding they hate that we wear the stoles and wish we would go back to not wearing stoles. This is not real. I'm just using this as the example. So when we go through the visioning process, I can see once we said, in 10 years, where do you picture this church? They said, I see a church where the ministers don't wear stoles. What we are trying to do is something a little different. We are trying to live into this future that we want to see. We're trying to picture what our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren may want and need. And if you already have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, what will their children and grandchildren want from this church? So in a minute, I'm going to guide you through a similar guided meditation that you will do or have done in these cottage meetings. I will encourage you to put away whatever the list of the things you want is. You can still have it. But for this exercise, just picture yourself in the meditation, in the guided imagery. And once you come out of it, as you do your discernment, figure out if that list makes sense or not. This process that we're doing, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a reading about liminal space. We are then going to sing 2 verses of a hymn. Then we'll do the guided meditation. We'll sing 2 more verses of the hymn. Online people, if you're doing this live, if you would really make some space to get grounded in this part, if you are watching this recorded, and God forbid you're driving or something right now, pull over. Do not close your eyes. But this is designed to start working you through the next step in this process. So we'll do the reading, we'll have part of the hymn, the guided meditation, part of the hymn, and then we'll close the service.
In between, liminal, that space where we wait. Between moments, events, results, action, no action. To stand on the threshold, waiting for something to end and something new to arrive. A pause in the rumble of time. Awareness claims us, alert, a shadow of something different. In between invitation and acceptance. In between symptom and diagnosis. In between send and receipt of inquiry and question. In between love given and love received. Liminality, a letting go, entering into confusion, ambiguity, and disorientation. A ritual begun, pause. Look back at what once was. Look forward into what becomes. Identity sheds a layer, reaches into something uncomfortable to wear. In between lighting of the match and kindling of oil, in between choosing of text and reading of words, in between voices and notes carried through the air into ears to hear, in between creation thrusts ever forward. Social hierarchies may disassemble and structures may fall. Communities may revolt or tempt trust. Tradition may falter or creativity crashes forward. Leaders may step down or take charge. People may choose or refuse. In between, storm predicted the horizon beacons. In between, theology of process reminds us to step back. In between, where minutiae and galaxies intermingle with microbes and mysteries. In between, liminal, that space where we wait, look, listen, feel, breathe.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
And if you are comfortable, I'll invite you to close your eyes. Take a breath in and out. In and out. You find yourself falling into a sleep. The sleep lasts for 5, 6, 7, 10 years. When you come out of that sleep, you look around. Are you still living in the same place? Are you still eating the same food? Do you get information the same way as you did before you went to sleep? You decide to come to church. How do you get there? Who do you go with? Right when you arrive at church, what do you see? Is it open space? Is it a building? What is the same? What is different? Did you come by yourself? As you walk in, do you enter through the same door or a different door? What do you smell as soon as you walk into the building? What do you hear? As you enter into the sanctuary and you sit, what looks the same and what is different? Who is sitting next to you this time? And I invite you to, in your mind, get up and leave the sanctuary and go to one part of the church that you feel most comfortable in and notice if it is different or the same. Are you there alone or with a lot of people or one other person? What is happening in the world on that day that you needed to be at church? Take a breath in and out. One more time, in and out. And when you're ready, come back.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
When we first started talking about a strategic plan, the idea that resonated with some of the staff the most was the idea of weatherizing the church. I still like the idea, get this church energy efficient, get it locked down so that it can survive both oncoming disasters of environmental, political, and societal nature. Build it so that we have economic security. Picture a church where the pledge drive doesn't drag on for 3 months. You're allowed to laugh at that if you want. Because we have other forms of income. Maybe it's an endowment so robust that we can fully live into our budget. Maybe it's a fixed up church in a way that invites more weddings and rentals, something like that. Maybe it's a banned book library and coffee shop. I thought about weatherizing the church in terms of doing basic maintenance. What if we had bathrooms so that the bathrooms were private and you didn't have to hear or smell or talk to anyone in a bathroom? And then we don't have to worry about all the weird gender stuff that everyone is obsessed with in our culture right now. What if we had raised garden beds outside or filled the land with play areas and meditation areas and food and pollination areas? You know, the list is on and on, but that is actually not what the visioning is. The process we are doing is different than that. The process we are doing is trying to picture ourselves in the world we don't know. Will we be more culturally and racially and economically diverse than we are? Will our city be on the coast? Will we have a functioning democracy? All of these questions are on the table, and as such, our visioning needs to be thinking about how we can build this church to weather whatever storms may come. How can we be a church that will provide protection and growth and thriving for everyone who needs it? What will the technology look like? What will the new foods and the styles that will show up here look like? What new genres of music and movies will we consume? Which of the hymns are we singing now that you're going to be so sick of that we're going to go, oh, that was clearly a 2020 hymn? When we started this process, I was stuck on the concrete and the tactile. But as I listened to you and I heard your vision, I started seeing it as bigger and bigger. And I know I shared some, but I don't want to share a lot of what has been envisioned because I want you to have your own vision for this church. But I am going to share with you one idea that came out of the board meeting because it transcends the grocery list of what we want for the church. So the board did this process, and this is one of their ideas. It was from a church member who talked about how we want to be seen in the community as the church that shows up. And here is my depiction for it. I hope that this church will be seen in the community as a hornet's nest for justice. What I mean by that is whenever the Metro Council or the school board or the legislature or the governor thinks about one of those foolish laws, you could pick any one you want right now, but they know if they start talking about one of those laws, that this church will get ornery. And they're going to have to deal with us being such a pain that they'd rather just not deal with it. For example, if they started talking about taxing the poor more, I don't know what else we can tax them on, but if they started taxing the poor more, they're like, I want in a legislative session someone to say no, because we're going to make the Unitarians mad. And as such, they will tiptoe around the issues that are core to the values of this church. The process we are doing is big and bold. Will it probably call for us to ask you for giving to a capital drive to make this happen next year? Probably yes. But is that the point? No. Thank you. Good. You may have visions for a church that cost us no money, but they're still great visions, and in that case, we're not going to raise money for a thing we don't need money for. But if you have a vision for a skyway to cross Goodwood or whatever, we're going to need to raise money for that. If you have visions for how this church could be ready to accept the next wave of Unitarian Universalists, who either do not exist yet, or at least are not theologically here yet. Whatever your vision is, now is the time to make it manifest. Now is the time to start thinking about the new and different perspectives and how different people may see and experience this church. Remember I said at the beginning of the service that some of that there are things that we do that are actually embedded into the actual ground we stand on. The miracles of birth and memorial services and the playful times we're together, all of these things that we invest in this place They are here and they stay here. The work we are doing now will be felt for generations. So may it be good work and loving work and caring work. Amen. Let's sing.
See one tiny spark, still small and bright, and hands cupped around to shield its light. A single flame, born of desire, faces turning its glow. Pass on the light, pass on the light within its walls, steady and strong. Pass on the light, pass on the light, from night to dawn, carry it on. The circle of light grows as it's passed from young hands to old and back again, sharing the youth one wonderful page, spreading our love as it grows. Pass on the light, pass on the light within these walls, steady and strong. Pass on the light, pass on the light, from night to dawn, carry it on. And still it shines on, year unto year, for one tiny spark to make and clear each generation, lighting our way forward to the today. Pass on the light, pass on the light within these walls, steady and strong. Pass on the light, pass on the light, from night to dawn, carry it on.
At a time that does not want us to vision for a future, let us vision for a future. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.